Okay. Do I have to turn this on?
Nope, you're good to go.
Okay.
There we
Sweet. All right. So this is our public consultation or our public meeting for consultation with neighboring governing bodies. So the request from the town of Kemptville was to update their municipal planning strategy to involve some aspects of the Municipal Government Act that would involve engagement with neighboring municipalities. The town missed the deadline to meet its requirements and received an extension through the fall of 2023. So the MGA requires Section 204A requires engagement, and then we would have to review the policy of other municipalities have adopted to see the requirements from it. The important thing was considered was any shared assets, which in this case was water associated assets, and to plan to cooperate with them accordingly. The municipal planning strategy is our guiding planning document that allows us to enact our municipal planning strategy and our land use bylaw. The provincial statement of interest is to consider to protect the quality of drinking water within the municipality, water supply and watersheds. The neighboring municipalities will be informed of any developments with regards to the municipal planning strategy, including water, and its treatment and sewage if an amendment to the site is within 150 meters of a shared boundary. To move on from that, the public engagement was advertised for I made this for the wrong date, but this is for today, not October 30th. I forgot to revise that in the first place. So we advertised in the newspaper and on the public website that there'd be a public meeting today to discuss this. Upon reviewing the Municipal Government Act, we were able to develop 4 proposed policies. There's a bit of a 5th one in there that we just recently added. A and B are both for cooperation between municipal services, where C is for protecting the water quality, and D is a statement to cooperate when significant changes to planning are to be considered with the town. So policy A was for council shall inform the municipality of the County of Kings when improvement and or major maintenance are planned for the shared water utility owned by the town that extends into the County of Kings. So this was required to cooperate with the municipality of the County of Kings on the shared water service as under the Municipal Government Act. The second amendment was to policy B, which was for Kemptville Water Commission, Kings Regional Sewer Committee, and Valley Regional Solid Waste Resource Management Authority to cooperate with an intermunicipal service agreement. This is an existing statement, but it just had a bit of an amendment to do it for more collaborative behavior. The policies names the authorities created. Names the authorities created for clarity in the policy. This is just a minor change to one of the policies under MS-15. It was to support and encourage instead of make a request from the County of Kings when involving implementation of anything around with the Wellfield watershed or Lake McGee. These are just statements for consideration to, once again, engage County of Kings. Under here, this is our one of our bigger changes in it. This is more broadly for the interactions between the two municipalities. It outlines the various methods, development agreements, controls available to municipalities in Nova Scotia for regulating land use decisions and development within their jurisdiction. The MGA also sets out the process for adopting municipal planning strategies and land use bylaws and the different types of development controls, such as development agreements, variances, or site plan approval. The minimum planning requirement regulations under the MGA requires a statement of policy describing the procedures to be followed when reviewing municipal planning strategy that must provide for public consultation and notice. The planning requirements regulations, which are outlined in the MGA under mandatory content, section 4D, describe the procedures to be followed when reviewing the municipal planning strategy. It also includes the process requirements for minimum public participation and advertising, which are all outlined in the council's G62 public participation policy. The other small additional policy recommendation we include here was for an IM-1A under that same chapter. Council should follow the public participation and advertising requirements outlined in the council's G62 public participation policy planning. This is all just to, again, do plan for interactions between municipalities with regards to anything that might come up that's intermunicipal. The final policy that we made a recommendation to change for is for council to notify the municipality of the County of Kings when considering amendments to municipal planning strategy. This would include sending a copy to the planner that reports to their council, and if any amendments to municipal planning strategy come up, site-specific or focused, that are within 100 meters of a boundary, or if they would require a development agreement, that council shall send a letter to the County of Kings to notify them of such changes or of the intent for a development agreement that would affect both municipalities. So it's really that 150-meter line within the shared boundary, but otherwise it would mostly only be considered for the water. So here's a kind of idea of our next steps. We can move to first reading held with council, and then we can have a public hearing with all of the amendments in mind, and then we can move to our second reading with council shortly afterwards and move towards adoption from there. If a council were to approve the planning document changes, then the policy will require changes as well. Public participation program policy, and under section 4.0 of its procedures, when a public participation program is required, council shall notify the municipality of the County of Kings. Any other public meeting requires sending of the planner's report to their council that's within the shared boundary. And then the motion for council to amend the policy may be passed to direct the CAO to review and advise. So yeah, with all that in mind, it's our recommendation that council accepts the proposed changes that were outlined here today for the MPS with regards to interacting with abutting municipalities. That's it.
All right, Raleigh, thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the audience with regards to what we've just seen to these amendments to the MPS? Do members of council have any questions for Raleigh? I have a couple.
Sure.
Mostly to do with water. So the first one, the 150 meter boundary, does that also, so what if our source water protection circles are greater than 150 meters? Is that the boundary, or is it still 150 meters?
So in the instance of water, if it had any involvement with water that was feeding to either county, they would have to be notified regardless of that buffer.
Okay.
So yeah, the buffer is basically for any like rezoning or land use involvements that are close to the shared boundaries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the other question I have, so there's going to be a new policy MS2 with shared water. So the UARB, if we do anything to our water that costs us over $250,000, we have to go to the UARB and say that we're making these changes and it may affect may affect the price. Will we now also have to go to Kings County at the same time to say that we're planning to put in, because we're planning to put in a well, so we've already gone to the UARB, but I know that we didn't go to Kings County and say we're planning this upgrade to our system. So do we have to go to them to say that?
There should be a letter to notify them, but
Okay.
you don't necessarily need a response from them on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my other question is with regards to water. Now, water is a utility governed by the Utility and Review Board. Can it go under an intermunicipal service agreement? Now, I know sewer can because we're currently in an IMSA for sewer, but water, because it's UARB and a utility, can it be an IMSA as well?
I want to say yes, but I don't particularly
Okay.
know the right answer for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, thank you, thank you. Anyone else?
I do have a question, actually.
Go ahead, Craig.
Riley, I'm just wondering, and I've gone through the changes, and when it came to our well field out in bordering on Colebrook, we changed it from strict wording to you shall adhere to, they softened it up and basically said, you know, we're gonna ask nicely that you don't do anything to, is there a reason why, because it's our drinking water, we're not keeping rigid and going, you're not gonna do anything to affect this?
I think it more so just has to do with how we're planning to engage the other municipality, because I think the shall context would require some sort of response from them, but there may be instances where there is no response. That being said, I can't entirely speak to that, to be honest, just because I'm not entirely sure. I can look that up and get back to you.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Thank you.
And I'm going to say that's a really good point, because their Public Works building was built kind of after after they built the main building out in Colebrook. And that Public Works building is on our well field. And I want to say that it's on B, maybe BC. So, you know, I don't know how they built it or what their standards were when they built it. However, I do know that when Toyota built their new garage, that they had to do the underground, you know, in case there was an oil leak in the garage, it would go into like a bathtub at the bottom of the shop, right? So I don't know if Kings County did the same thing when they did it, because I know when they built their building, they put those geothermal holes into the ground without consultation for our well field. So I'd hate to think that they built a garage that they're changing oil in over top of our well field.
Yeah, I definitely could see how that would be a concern. I feel like ultimately, because it's already an existing structure, that just may be the case.
Right.
I'm not entirely certain how you would get that, aside from getting some sort of environmental assessment for
Okay.
property owners.
Sure,
You know what I mean?
okay,
Yeah.
all right, thanks. Okay, if there's no other questions, thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate it. This will go to council in December. That'll give us enough time, like to CAC in December. Or, I'm looking at Kirsten, did you want it to come earlier for first reading?
I'm just thinking there's no council in December.
No, there's no
So
council,
It'll
yeah.
have to, it could come CAC in December and then in January be heard at council.
Right, okay. And that'll give us time to advise Kings County of these changes as well. Because I was thinking we could put it on the agenda tonight, but we wouldn't have advised Kings County, so I don't think it would meet the requirements that we've established for ourselves.
Yeah, they have been sent a copy of it and were invited to tonight's meeting.
Okay,
But we got no response. We
Okay.
received no response.
okay, very good, very good. All right, and we do have Water Commission meetings at the end of November, so all of this information will be brought to the Water Commission as well, so that we're cognizant of the changes. And then, you know, we will add to the recommendation that these be accepted as part of council.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.